of that, those marks, those brands which are very popular, they have been protected through well-known trademark. So what is trademark dilution? Trademark dilution is one of the activities through which you make an effect, you can say, on the recognition of that very well-known trademark. In any way, if you are doing it, your dilution simply means that you are lessening or minimizing, or you can say in any way impairing the image of that very trademark which has been considered as well-known trademark. So how can you do that? You can do that. I have already gone through, so I am just summarizing it. I will send you that video. So there are three modes through which dilution could occur. Number one is one is through blurring. Blurring, as you know, if you are just making it very, a little unclear, that very image which is being produced by that trademark. So blurring you can do by having certain changes in that very trademark, but still people make a connection that it is coming from the well-known trademark. So that is called blurring. Next thing is tarnishment. Tarnishment means if you are impairing the image of that very mark by your act, where it could be like defamed or something like that. So if you use something scandalous or something like that, obscene or something like that, then in that very case, that very mark could be diluted by tarnishment. The third one is free riding. Free riding is considered as a concept we have already discussed, that if because of your use, some other person, sorry, because it is not properly protected, some other person can take advantage of it. So because of that, term is considered as free riding. So free riding means that the other person is enabled to take advantage without having any significant implication in the mark. So in that very case, that is also being considered kind of violation, because you are taking unjust benefit from it. But in free riding cases, that thing is not that much intense, because sometimes it makes a detrimental effect on the well-known trademark and sometimes it is not. So all these things I have discussed in the previous lecture, so I will be sending you. So I don't think that there would be any problem. So just we should start with the Indian position, and we must discuss two cases today. So starting with trademark dilution, how India defines it. In the very 1999 Act, under section 29 clause 4, the Trademark Act 1999, it defined how dilution could occur. So if you go by this very provision, you have to pay heed to certain things. So as it goes, a registered trademark is infringed by a person who, not being a registered proprietor, or a person using by way of permitted use. So it means to say either registered proprietor or a permitted user. If that is not the case, so in that very case, uses in the course of trade a mark. Which kind of mark? A mark which is, sorry, a mark which is identical with or similar to the registered trademark. Number one, first condition. Second condition is used in relation to goods or services which are not similar to those for which the trademark is registered. And third point is, the registered trademark has a reputation in India, and the use of the mark without due cause takes unfair advantage of or is detrimental to the distinctive character or repute of the registered trademark. So as you see here, there are two previous conditions, that is, it must be either identical or similar. There is nothing which has been given as a kind of confusion or something like deceptive similarity. That criteria is not being considered here. Here the criteria is that that very person who is an unauthorized user is using a mark as a trademark which is identical or similar with the registered trademark, and is used in relation to goods. Here you must have to pay attention that it is used in relation to goods or services which are not similar to those which have been already registered. So simply, if you go by the infringement cases, you find that the goods or services are normally they are similar in cases of infringement. But here in this very case, the prerequisite is they are not similar because it is a well-known trademark, as you know, so it is applied to non-similar goods and services too. So because of that, this very criteria is very important. Third one is that, and these two are not enough that you can prove that it is identical, it is similar, and they are using in connection with some other goods. Apart from that, because the term and is there means it is conjunctive and it must be taken into account. So third one is a very essential component of it, that the registered trademark has a reputation in India. You have to prove it. And the use of the mark without due cause takes unfair advantage. Okay, so this is also important. So first thing is that that mark must be reputed in India because we are considering the well-known trademark. And second thing is that that mark was used without due cause, and the person who is using it taking unfair advantage of, or the use is detrimental to the distinctive character or repute of the registered trademark. So this is all about the Indian position. So there are certain issues as unlike some other provisions which deals with infringement, there is no requirement of confusion in this section, which I have already dealt upon. Second thing is the extent of reputation is not defined. Like how can you assess whether it is reputed or not? No parameter has been set under this very act. Third thing is that there is no need to satisfy the requirement of confusion. So all these three things are there, which I mean, as an essential condition, you need not to satisfy the confusion angle. So coming to the next one,
Yes.
which is about the comparative advertising. So one thing you can do by diluting the trademark, that dilution may also not only be taken in the real use, but it may also be taken into account through comparative advertising. So what is comparative under advertising? So 29 clause 8 defines it like this: a registered trademark is infringed by any advertising of that trademark if such advertising takes unfair advantage of and is contrary to honest practices in industrial or commercial matters. So as you see here, it is very factual and you have to substantially prove it in the court of law that it is taking unfair advantage or it is contrary to honest practices. So what are honest practices must be defined. Second thing is that it is or is detrimental to its distinctive character. Even if you're not taking that advantage, but if it is detrimental to the distinctive character, then it would qualify for the comparative advertising clause. And third one is because everywhere the alternative is mentioned, that is or like that. So is detrimental to its distinctive character or is against the reputation of the trademark. Along with that, there is a section 29 clause 9 which says where the distinctive elements of a registered trademark consists of or include words. So it is taking a peculiar case of where the trademark is used in form of words. The trademark may be infringed by the spoken use of that words as well as by their visual representation. And reference in this section to the use of the mark shall be construed accordingly. So in cases of words, as you see, visual as well as any sound appeal like in the form of spoken word, both are considered. So there are certain concerns which are being raised against this very comparative advertising, provision. Sometimes what happens, like people get scared of this very provision. So if you need to, elaborate your product, you need to launch your product in a better manner, you try to advertise in a very full-fledged manner, then you are a little hesitant because you may be caught because of all these three ingredients. So some people say that there is a concern that it is suspected that these provisions might be used to curb freedom of expression. And some people say that the first very clause is enough to curtail or curb the unfair practices as relates to comparative advertising. So there is no need of B and C, that is, it is detrimental to distinctive character or it is against the reputation of the trademark. So these are the usual concerns which are being made. So I hope that you can grab that what we are discussing. Now we are jumping into some cases. So coming to cases, this is one of the case which you are seeing here. The one is the brand which is very well known, you might also be knowing, Mercedes-Benz logo, which has been copied by a clothing company, BIP, as you know, you for its undergarments, or you can say some other clothes. So what they try to do, you can easily see here or figure it out here, that they have tried to imitate a kind of image which may not be very identical, but that is pretty similar to the Mercedes Benz. And they also use the term bench in connection with that very logo. So what were the concerns? First of all, you must figure out these two pictures. That is why I have just displayed it, so that you will be very clear that what we are talking about. So in Mercedes, I mean, there is pretty similar kind of, you can say, imitation with regard to the Mercedes-Benz mark. Now coming to contentions. So what was the issue? The issue was that the bench, along with a three-point human being in a ring and the words German perfection, it need not be restricted to mere machine or horizons in connection with underwear made by an Indian company, that is VIP. So what was the previous company? The company which holds that very mark, that is Mercedes-Benz, was a Daimler-Benz company which is based in Germany. The plaintiff, who owns the famous three-point star Benz logo depicted above, they sued the Indian underwear company for the action of passing off. Why we are using the term passing off rather than imprisonment? Because as you know, this very act came into 1999 and this case is of 1994. So because of the lack of that very provision, that was dealt under the action of passing off. So the plaintiff's logo was registered in India in 1951. So ignoring the defense of honest concurrent use by the defendant, the High Court of Delhi granted the plaintiff's injunction. I mean to say that the court has not considered that very contention that it is a honest or concurrent use. And what they observed that such a mark is not up for grabs, not available to any person to apply upon anything of goods. That name is well known in India and worldwide with respect to cars, as its symbol a three-pointed star. So it means to say it is all pervasive here in India also, people recognize it. And this very symbol, that is logo, as well as the name, is very famous here in India with relation to cars. So trademark law was not intended to protect a person who would deliberately derive the benefits of someone else's reputation with reference to goods. So this is the fair policy which is embedded in the trademark, that it doesn't promote these kind of uses which are against the fair practices of the trade. So especially when such a reputation extended worldwide, it means to say it has a very well-known reputation. So in the present case, what happens that bench is a name given to a very high-priced and extremely well-engineered product. So in court's considered view, the defendant cannot dilute that very thing, that very mark, by using the name bench with respect to a product like underwears. So first thing they have, very nearly copied or imitated that very thing. The other thing was that they used the term bench which was not very common here in India, and that was very peculiar to that very company, which was using it for a long time, and it was well recognized here in India. So it is considered the first case in India enjoining a defendant from using the plaintiff's well-known mark on the sole ground of free riding. So here, as you see, that the imitation, or you can say the similarity, is not that much, close, but what is the benefit which could be derived from this is that because of the use of that very mark, the other company, that is VIP, may get the benefit of that. So this is a positive externality because they are in car business, they are in clothing business. So in cases of clothing business, people may not, the car may not be that much affected, the manufacturing or sale, but that very other company may derive a kind of benefit by using this bench kind of, you can say, term coupled with that kind of mark. So because of that, some positive externality is there, which is enabling that very second trademark holder to take certain unjust benefit. So this was the ground of free riding, over which, because of which this very case has been rejected. So the defendant has been rejected to use this very mark. So the High Court ruled out confusion and deception by acknowledging the ubiquitous reputation of the name bench in connection with the marks. Now, this very case is in your case mat, and it is very important case, so you have to go through it. So you are seeing here two signs. One sign on the right is about Marlboro cigarettes, which you will be knowing because it is also very well recognized here in India. And they have very, very close connection as regards to images. If you see, that is not pretty identical, but they have very close similarity, kind of similarity which could be objected. So the left one is a sign which is in form of Namaste, as you see here. And it was used by the ITC for its hotel purposes, or you can say the purposes which are related to hospitality rather than the cigarettes. Both are manufacturing cigarettes, not manufacturing, selling cigarettes. And one is very clearly established its mark, that is Marlboro, and it is selling for a long time. ITC is selling cigarettes, but it is not being, you can say,
this is, I think, hotel group.
sorry? Yes.
ITC means Tata.
Hotel. ITC
Yes,
was in hotel business and the other one was in
yes.
cigarette business. ITC was in hotel business, but it is also selling some sort of cigarettes, but it has no
Yes, yes,
mentioning of this very mark on the cigarettes. They are only
yes.
mentioning this marks for that very hospitality purposes, that is for the hotels and all these stuffs. So the case was whether, ITC was using it for a long time, so they were claiming that the Marlboro is diluting their mark by having this kind of sign. So we have to examine whether their contention is right or there is some loopholes, so that we will be going through. So let's see how it goes. So that I have already defined to you what is section 29 clause 4, so I'm not going to define it again, but you must be very clear that apart from those two conditions A and B, the third condition is also very important, that the mark which is in question must be a reputed mark here in India, and its use was without due cause and to take an unfair advantage or to impair the distinctive character or repute of that very company, which is previously established. So in these cases, there is no presumption of infringement. I should also make it very clear what is the presumption of infringement. So if there are identical marks or deceptively similar marks, so in those cases, in normal cases of infringement, not in cases of dilution, that is being presumed that could be done. That is the case of infringement. But such presumption is not here available in the case of trademark dilution, and everything every integer you have to prove substantially. So what were the facts? The facts I have a little bit discussed with you. The facts were the alleged similarity between the two logos based on ITC's claim that the M logo of Philip Morris had the effect of blurring the distinctiveness of ITC's W Namaste logo. So both are, giving a kind of inference that they are in the shape of W. And it was said that the Philip Morris that was producing Marlboro cigarettes, they are blurring the mark of ITC, which is also giving a kind of, you can say, inference of W if you take it very closely. So they allege that this has been done through the way of blurring. So they said that had the effect of blurring the distinctiveness of ITC's W Namaste logo, which ITC had been using for long years, that is 34 years. So specifically, ITC alleged that the use of M logo by the defendant breached Section 29 Clause 4 of the Trademark Act. So there were plenty of evidences of use of its W Namaste logo in hospitality and restaurant business. So you must make it very clear. In hospitality and restaurant business, it was used. And
maybe network problem.
Sorry. Okay. So
now whatever.
So there was no evidence of use of this logo in connection with cigarettes, as I made it clear before you. So the defendant primarily argued that while the W Namaste logo was registered for cigarettes in clause 34, there had been no use in connection with these goods by the plaintiff. So ITC was not using this very logo in connection to the, you can say, cigarettes, that very item. So how that could be tested? The defendant further argued that all the plaintiff's cigarettes, so first argument or contention of the detention was that though they have registered some sort of goods which may fall under the cigarettes, but ITC was not using this very mark in relation to those cigarettes. The second contention they made that all of the plaintiff's cigarettes were sold under several other brand names without the use of W Namaste logo. So the defendant also pointed out that the relative inconspicuous use of this logo compared with use of house mark of the plaintiff and other mark plaintiff's registered mark. So they also, procured this thing that as well as other evidence filed by the plaintiff arguing that the only reason for the plaintiff's suit was, why they have done that, why they brought this very suit. So the defendant were arguing that the only reason for doing that, for bringing this very suit, was to kill the defendant's competition. Because both are in cigarette business, one is using some sort of mark, and that may have certain, you can say, reputation or something. So because of that, if they are not deriving that much advantage or something, so because of that, this very ITC company was against this Philip Morris company. So defendant's competition, because the consumers who bought the defendant's cigarette were rather discerning as a result of the market placement and price range of its products. So they were more attractive to this very product, that is Philip Morris product, Marlboro. So this was the reason which was cited by the defendants, that what was the real purpose of bringing the suit. So the High Court of Delhi declined the plaintiff's request for preliminary injunction. So they were convinced by these two arguments. That first argument was that the cigarette was, sold by the ITC, but not with this very logo, number one. And number two, what was the real intention of that very ITC company? So it noted that even assuming that the plaintiff proved similarity of the two marks and associated reputation, the record evidence showed that ITC's W Namaste logo was associated mainly with the hospitality and restaurant sector, and that such reputation could not possibly transcend the hospitality business. So it is not presumed, or you can say believed, that that very reputation which they built only for these two sectors, that is hospitality and restaurant sector, that could not easily, transcend to, or you can say escape, or you can say extend to the hospitality business. Sorry, extend that very hospitality business and reach to other products. So they were confined, they were restricted. Their reputation was restricted as regards to W Namaste logo to only one business, and that business was hospitality and the restaurant sector. So there was nothing to suggest that such association extend to mid or higher cigarettes, high price cigarettes. Second thing is that plaintiff did not deny selling cigarettes, although under different brands, without the logo in question. So that thing has been endorsed by the plaintiff also, that they were selling the cigarettes without having this very logo on it. So therefore, it found no connection between the defendant's mark and the plaintiff's services that could cause harm to the plaintiffs or undue advantage to the defendant. So, as you know, in cases of well-known trademark and as well as in dilution, you have to make a connection. You have to prove that connection, that the people who are using the other one, they are making some sort of association with the previous one. If they are not able to do so, then there is no question of any dilution or impairment of the well-known trademark. So whether that connection was available, you have to inquire, you have to examine, because that is the very factual thing. So when it was examined by the court found no connection between the defendant's mark and the plaintiff's service that could cause harm to the plaintiff or undue advantage to the defendant. Now here the question or confusion may arise that we always take this very case for different goods and services. That is the precondition. So when we talk about well-known trademark, when we talk about dilution of trademark, we are always concerned with the mark which is used in connection with the different kinds of services. So here also it is being used in a different kind of services. So how that could be considered that
Yes,
it
sir.
is not a kind of impairment, or you can say it is not making a detrimental effect. So in that case, we have to look into what is the influence which it is creating. So if that influence is on, this connection is on, then in that very case, that could be established. But if that connection is lost because of some, you can say, conduct, so in that very case, it could not be considered that it is impaired, or you can say it is a kind of violation of trademark. So because of that, this is pretty factual analysis. So you have to get into the fact and find out that very connection. And then you have to establish the other third very important criteria, that it has the right unmerited, unjust advantage, or has caused certain harms. So this is about, this very case. Now we can summarize the court's opinion. So there are certain, points which you may remember when you discuss the violation of or dilution of trademarks. So first thing was that the test here, that is for dilution, is not exactly the same. So what was the purpose? Why we have included this very, provision which deals with trademark dilution? So for one, Parliament has consciously eschewed the deceptive similarity standard, which is defined by Section 2 in relation to infringement claims under Section 29, Clause 4. So the word deceptive is being removed from this very section. It has not been included in this very section, cautiously. So deception will not be considered here in this very case. Why? Because in cases of deception, the likelihood will play a very major role. But in this very case, the criteria is very robust. And you cannot just, on the basis of some confusion, make your case in the cases of trademark dilution. So this was the reason why Parliament has made it more stringent, that it could be stringently proved. That is why they have used this very term, that is, you can say, dilution of trademark. without having deceptive similarity on in this very section. This would mean that the identity or similarity standard is a little higher, and the claimant has to prove or establish that the two marks are identical with or similar to each other. So the question of deception does not arise here because that was not included in this very provision. So there must be a near identification of the two marks, or they must have the closest similarity. Second aspect which was here is that the other elements necessary to establish dilution are dissimilarity of goods and reputation of that very mark in India. The use of the mark without due cause resulting in detriment to it, or the defendant take undue advantage, and if it is taking undue advantage, it has to be strongly proved. So these ingredients are all to be established. They could not be established in one portion, or you can say independently, because as I said that the term and is used and every condition you have to take into account. So because of that very conjunctive kind of, you can say, impression, the word and is used. So all these conditions must be very strictly satisfied. So IT's major contention was, as I said, that the similarity between W Namaste mark of the Welcome Group and M of the Marlboro pack are deceptively similar. That is, they are giving an impression of the word term W. But the court observed that a global look rather than a focus only on the common elements of the mark is to be taken, while considering if the impugned or junior mark infringes by dilution and existing registered trademark. So the court said that you have to take it in a very wider sense, in a global impact, how that very mark is impacting the global crowd, rather than just going into the very small portions which may be looking alike. So what was the nature of this very mark? We have 5 minutes left, so I just want to wrap it up and then we will continue further. So if you go by the nature of this very mark, you will find that it is not a standalone mark. Like it is not only the word which is there, there are words as well as some other ingredients. So the plaintiff's mark is not a standalone mark. It is used with the words Welcome Group or the name of the resort or service. We are talking about ITC's mark. Moreover, the plaintiff's mark is part of the overall marks and devices which are used in relation to each hotel, restaurant, resort, or service it offers to the consumer. So by going with this very conclusion, the reason that the plaintiff's mark in relation to hospitality industry is a stylized logo. So it is very peculiar to that very industry. So here you cannot compare both these marks equal, or you can say very near, because it is a stylized logo which is meant for hospitality business. That Namaste, I mean, it is usually used for the hospitality purposes. So here it could be considered as a stylized logo, which has to be juxtaposed with another mark, which the material on record prima facie suggests has its own distinctive market. So both marks were prima facie neither identical nor similar, and the Marlboro festive pack logo had its own artistic element. So because of that, the first two conditions are not met. Coming to the reputation, which is also included in those conditions, whether the reputation is established or not. So ITC was using it for long 30 years. The court did make note of the overlapping business interests in tobacco of the two parent companies. It acknowledged that ITC's reputation and its mark contains an aura of luxury, could possibly transcend the hospitality business, and may well evoke a broad association with the luxury goods. That court endorsed. However, the court held that there was nothing to imply that such association also extended to mid to high priced cigarettes. So the court was very much satisfied and said that there were significant and fundamental differences between ITC's hospitality business and Philip Morris Marlboro cigarettes. So what was the weakness where the case has been lost by the, you can say, plaintiff? The main, you can say, reason for that was that ITC has failed to show that it used the W Namaste logo for cigarettes. If they would have established that, then that very similar thing might be put on. So the court held that there was no possibility of the two goods or services, ITC's hospitality and Marlboro's cigarettes, being deceptively associated. So this is a mark which was based on some factual.
Sir, I have a question, sir. I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Please.
under section 29(4), sir, it is not available on different in same goods and services. It is applicable on different goods and services.
Yes. Yes, of course.
सर इस केस में भी तो डिफरेंट है ना, वो उसमें यूज कर रहे हैं।
दो डिफरेंट थे, लेकिन आप कैसे यूज कर रहे हो कि वो आइडेंटिकल माना जाएगा या नहीं, वो चीज सब्सटेंशिएट नहीं कर पाए। ये समझ में आ रहा है नहीं? बोथ वेयर, ऑल द क्राइटेरिया वेयर एस्टैब्लिश्ड, बट आइडेंटिकल होना चाहिए या सिमिलर होना चाहिए दोनों मार्क का, और उनका इन्फ्लुएंस ऐसा होना चाहिए कि वो कनेक्शन दिखाई दे। वो कनेक्शन दिखाई नहीं दिया, और दूसरा उसका इम्पैक्ट दूसरे पे क्या पड़ रहा है, दैट इज कमिंग अंडर द फैक्चुअल एनालिसिस। तो जब वो फैक्चुअल एनालिसिस किया गया तो ये पाया गया कि बिकॉज दे वेयर दैट वाज वेरी मच रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू वन काइंड ऑफ बिजनेस, इट वाज स्टाइलाइज्ड मार्क which may not exert any kind of impact on the others. एक फैक्चुअल जो एक्सरसाइज हुई कोर्ट के द्वारा, तो उसमें ये नहीं पाया गया कि हाँ भाई इसका उस तरह का इम्पैक्ट जनरेट हो रहा है, तो इसलिए वो जो है चीज जो है मिस कर गए आईटीसी प्रूव करने में। ओके
सर,
ओके,
थैंक यू सर।
It is just stopping, so I will be carrying it forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.